What is up, Nerds Nation? Welcome to the F and Nerds podcast. Thank you for joining us. My name is Nick Denizio, and sitting across from me is the man himself, Martin Moreno.
Said it good this time.
I said it good this time, right?
Moreno.
I do. I was practicing.
Yeah?
I was literally saying it to myself, I'm like, Moreno.
There you
Moreno.
go.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Good job.
Today we are reviewing The Old Guard, starring Charlize Theron. I think it's Theron, not Theron. Maybe.
We butcher names all the time. So we apologize in advance.
This is Netflix's new action film from director Gina Prince-Bythewood, and it's based on writer Greg Rucka's comic dealing with immortal warriors that go on a revenge mission. Before we get started, make sure you guys click that like button and subscribe to our YouTube page. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever else, please check back each week as we try to upload new content for you guys to listen to.
Ooh, new little intro there.
Intro. You like that, right?
It. Yeah, it was nice.
Also, guys, just keep in mind that we will be talking spoilers, so if you have not seen The Old Guard yet, please go watch it and then come back and check out this video. If you've been watching our reviews at this point, you kind of know how we do things. We're going to talk about our likes, we're going to talk about our dislikes, and then we're going to score at the very end. So, Martin, you're leading off, lead hitter. Tell me what you liked about The Old Guard.
Okay, I'll start off with saying, in typical sort of Netflix fashion, the action is really good. Mm-hmm. I think what the trailer pretty much sold me on was the action. Just seeing sort of Charlize in here kicking ass with modern day weapons and old school weapons, like this crazy battle action
really
guns.
Cool.
It's cool, yeah. You know, like she's just a fucking stud. She's a badass, and she does not seem to be slowing down anytime soon. So that's what I was looking forward to. That's what the trailer sold me on. And we get that pretty early on, just kind of her kicking ass. But aside from her, the supporting characters, I'm not sure his name. I just call him Jafar. That's what I was calling him the
guy
entire.
Who played Jafar, yeah.
Yeah, I was calling him Jafar the entire time. But like him and the other supporting characters, they did a really good job of making all the action sequences look genuine, look organic, feel right. Very similar to Extraction. So I guess if Netflix has a stunt team or whatever's going on over there in terms of action, like they're doing a really good job. I think there's only like one moment that kind of took me out of it in terms like what I like to call the John Wick 3 moment, or sometimes like those like long John Wick fight scenes that are like long shots. There's moments where it's like
you can kind of see them.
You're waiting for it, like you're waiting for the camera to pan over, and then like you're waiting for your mark. There was only like maybe once in this movie that I kind of got that, but aside from that, I thought the action was great, and that's pretty much all I liked.
Yeah. So in terms of my likes for The Old Guard, I would agree with what you're saying in terms of the action scenes. That very first scene had me hooked.
Awesome.
So good. Probably my favorite action scene that I've seen this year so far, just in terms of just how, and this, well, that's also not saying a lot considering the fact that we've, there's a lot of stuff that's been pushed.
There's some good moments in Six Underground, bro.
We haven't, get out of here.
Some good moments in there.
But yeah, I absolutely love that fight. And same thing with Charlize Theron. She's really good in this, and it's to the point where it's kind of, she's been in this situation before in terms of action scenes. She's a pro. She's a veteran. When you have her just in this, you immediately buy her as whatever character she's playing. And the same thing also goes, and I really, I was asking Martin, I was like, how do you say this guy's name? He played Booker in the film. His name is Matthias Schoenaerts, I think is how you say it. I really apologize. I probably butchered the shit out of that. He was also in my other favorite movie, The Drop, with Tom Hardy and James Gandolfini, which you still haven't seen yet.
You talk about all the time.
Talk about all the time.
Bro,
have to see it.
You need like this is like a free advertisement / campaign sponsorship for The Drop. It constantly comes up, but yeah, we'll eventually watch it.
Yes, but I also really liked his performance in the movie too. I thought he was great in a lot of the scenes. There's one scene he has with KiKi Layne's character where he's talking about his past and like his kids and everything, and how, because these are immortal warriors, so they've been through, however much each person's like has a certain amount of age and what they've gone through. Like I know the characters of Joe and Nikki like met in the Crusades. Charlize Theron's character is like the oldest character. She's been around for thousands of years.
She's the old guard.
She's like the oldest guard. And then Booker, I forget what time period he comes from, but it's basically the fact that all these people have seen their loved ones die at some point. So he talks about his kids and, his last kid on like his deathbed, and just, I really liked how he acted that whole scene. I thought he was really good. Other than that, yeah,
not great, Bob.
Not a great. After those first 15 minutes, the movie really for me takes a deep dive.
Me too, and I actually kind of if you recall, I felt it very early on. I think within the first 5 minutes,
You're like, this is gonna suck.
I had a gut feeling, and I'm not, if I don't think a movie's gonna be good, I don't go in there wanting it to be not good. I always kind of go into a movie with a clean slate. But something very early on, I got immediate like Six Undergrounds and Extraction vibes, like right off the bat.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh man, I don't know how I feel about this. Then the action scenes happens, and it's a little bit reassuring because the action scene's really good. But then from there, it just goes downhill to the point where about 2/3 of the movie, I was so done with it. I was ready for it to be over.
Yeah, so let's kind of look at this from all sides of it. The screenplay comes from Greg Rucka, who wrote the graphic novel The Old Guard.
Who is amazing.
Who's amazing.
I love Greg Rucka so much.
When I looked up his credentials, and you see all of the comics he's worked on, from DC to Marvel to just everything. And I haven't, personally read The Old Guard, but, it got very high marks. A lot of people really enjoyed it. He wrote the screenplay here. And I think for me, the screenplay is the movie's weakest point, because for as good as the action scenes are, and for as some of the acting, not all the acting, but some of the acting, for as good as it is, the movie has a very plain feeling to it. It feels very basic. A lot of stuff as you've seen before.
It's very generic.
Very generic, to the point where, and we'll probably get into this because there is an after credit scene. What that after credit scene shows is the story that should have been this movie. I feel this movie commits the cardinal sin of being a setup movie for the sequel, which has a way more interesting story than what we got here.
Mm-hmm. Like those flashback sequences, like you were saying, with when the character's talking about his family growing up, like a lot of those flashback sequences were way more interesting than the movie.
Agreed.
But yeah, maybe if we spent more time with those scenes, like those moments that they were talking about, like that were in the previous time, like watching his family grow up, or even though the costumes were a little ridiculous, some of those crusades.
Some of them were, yeah.
Yeah, maybe like if it was just kind of, if we had more with those sort of timepiece stories that they were talking about, because those to me seemed more interesting. Whatever was happening, especially the Charlize Theron's character, and well, like you said, what we get pretty much set up for the next one, like that to me was almost a little bit more interesting than what we got in the film itself.
Yeah, and I think it would have helped with just in terms of getting more connected with the characters, because while they do put character development in there, there were certain characters that I had a hard time connecting to, and also just like buying.
Yeah, because they were just very generic characters. The villain is so like. How many times have we seen this villain?
Well, that's one of my big issues, is that the movie does have a villain problem, and the fact that there really isn't a compelling villain. It's played by Harry Melling, which if you are a Harry Potter fan, you'll recognize him as Dudley from the Harry Potter series.
And he lost weight, man. Good for him.
Yeah, no, good for him. But he plays like this. He runs a
He's a child.
He's a child, basically.
Yeah, he's like he's like Lex Luthor, and you like BVS, but he's like this like awkward like child running this company, trying to be evil, trying to twirl the mustache, and I just didn't buy it.
Yeah, he runs like a pharmaceutical company who's trying to capture these warriors, and he wants to like farm their blood to make like
let's take this for science. And, it's like.
But he's such a cliche character of wanting to play God and blah blah blah. blah
and
blah,
she would tell Ejiofor too, like he realizes his sins or finds some mistakes later on after committing them. Like, oh, I was wrong. Like, yeah, he's so much. Should
we tell Ejiofor's character is kind of helping Harry's he's just trying to help him capture these guys, and then after it happens, he realizes his wrong ways, and I was wrong. Yeah, it's like you've seen it all before, and it's ridiculous. That's the other thing too, man. Chiwetel Ejiofor is such a fantastic actor, but he keeps taking these roles where he just wasted.
I don't know. Maybe that's why because I'm not completely on board on Chiwetel Ejiofor.
I mean,
I'm very like. I almost said torn again, but I'm kind of like mixed bag on him because he's not an actor that really excites me. But I don't know if maybe it's because he takes bad projects.
Like a lot of roles, I feel like, because he is talented. If you've seen 12 Years a Slave and other movies, like he's fantastic. He can act, but like I just feel he always falls into these roles where he just has nothing to do. And this is another one where he's in here, and there's just nothing for him to really do.
And obviously, I feel like he has a lot. He has like that like just that face syndrome where some actors kind of fall. When you think of like Emma Stone, as much as I love Emma Stone, you think of that teary-eyed cries. Yeah. Like same thing with him. He always has this like mopey, like sad look on his face. I'm just like it's almost like the same thing over and over again. But I don't know. Maybe it's because he just takes these certain roles that just are kind of putting him in a certain spot. For me personally, where I'm just like, I just don't really. I'm not like too thrilled about seeing him in movies. But even though he's a fantastic actor, I think this one was like this one was like almost a tipping point where I'm like, again, like what this guy. I don't know if I'm about it. But yeah, this is kind of me.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with you. Like it's kind of the same thing too. Is when the movie ends, his character kind of finds his purpose, and it's like, oh, okay, so he's not really going to be useful until the sequel. Like it's that same thing where this movie commits that cardinal sin of just being a straight up setup movie and saying, no, just wait for the sequel. We'll have all this cool shit. And it's like, no, you have to sell me on this movie in order to get me excited for the next one. Like, and they just don't do that here. The other thing too. KiKi Layne, who kind of plays like this like rookie she's a Army Marine, right?
I believe she's or
just in the Army.
She's in the Army,
yeah. Her character basically develops this immortal power, and that's
right. Which we've only watched it once because I had no desire to see it again.
Right.
But is this something that they inherit, or is it something that they're born with?
I don't know if it's something that they inherit, or it's like a random thing, like almost like a mutation, maybe. Like I don't know how it exactly works, but it's just the fact that one day you just have this thing.
Because like they said that it was the first time in a long time that they got like someone.
It's almost like an awakening kind of deal. And so early on, you find out that she's one of these immortals, and she develops it, and she's going through the whole thing of having this power, not knowing how to deal with it, and stuff
being
that we've
seen as a freak,
stuff that we've seen before, basically.
Yeah, very X-Men-ish.
It has a lot of that. And for KiKi Layne, I haven't seen Beale Street, but I know she's very off of what you said. She's very good.
I love Beale Street.
Yeah,
Beale Street's fantastic.
I still have to watch Beale Street, which is another. Yeah, it's a whole other thing. But I didn't really buy her in this role as much as I want to. I think she does a very good job handling the physical aspects of the role, but I also kind of connect to the writing not being as good for her character, and her not being enough of a veteran of an actor to pick up the slack where the writing fails her. You know what I mean? Like there's certain lines that she has to say that just aren't that very good. And her delivery of those lines also isn't that great either.
That's to me where like it's like the line delivery for a lot of times in this movie was just like rough.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing too, which is kind of a thing, is she's a newer actress, and has a lot of scenes where she's acting against Charlize Theron, who to me just acts circles around her in a lot of different scenes. As much as I hate to say it, because and from the Beale Street, from what you told me, like she seems like she has a promising career ahead of her. But I think in this one she was just miscast.
Well, the thing I think about Beale Street is like because when you kind of, from what I got from her from just these two movies, I feel like in this movie she also kind of plays a sort of how can I say, it's not necessarily timid, but kind of like quiet, more constrained role. And she's like kind of like nervous. She's trying to break out. She's trying to figure out she's trying to figure everything out, trying to find her place in all of this. And I think in Beale Street, the character that she plays in Beale Street, again, is a little bit similar. It's like this sort of timid, nervous, scared person who is somewhat troubled because she's about to have a baby. She just lost the love of her life. So I think she plays to those strengths in that movie. Not to mention that you also have Barry Jenkins directing you, so that no disrespect to the director of The Old Guard, but Barry Jenkins, he's pretty much proven what a world class he is. Right. So when you have someone like Barry Jenkins directing you and he's playing your strengths to the role, it kind of works out. And here, I don't think I thought that her strengths sort of just didn't really match with it. Maybe it just wasn't like maybe she crushed it on the audition, who knows, but whatever she was casted, like, it just, I personally just don't think that she was the right for this role, or she couldn't bring something to it. And like you said, just some of the line delivery just felt really flat. Some of the dialogue was just not good. And yeah, like you said, she just doesn't really have that sort of veteranism just yet to kind of, like, where Charlize did it very well. Like, she doesn't really just have it yet to kind of pick it up and make up for some of like the generic and just bad delivery. But that's kind of how I see it. I just think her strengths were played better to her role in Beale Street. Right.
And that's the other thing too that I kind of wanted to talk to you about. So the movie's directed by Gina Prince-Bythewood, who's not, she's not new. She directed Love and Basketball.
She's been around for a while.
Beyond the Lights, she's been around for a while, so she knows how to direct. But it's funny when you said, like, oh, this is just going to end up being your typical Netflix movie. And it's kind of crazy to me how a lot of these movies that are going to streaming, especially on Netflix, all look and feel the same. Like it's almost like they're losing that that directing voice. There's no uniqueness to it, and I'm wondering if this is a Netflix issue, if this is just like I don't know what it is, like, because this to me feels like Six Underground. It feels like Extraction. Like they all look and feel the same, and it's like somewhere along the way the director's vision is getting lost, and I don't know what's causing it. And to me it's a problem. I
don't know if it's too much freedom. I don't know if it's not enough freedom.
Right.
I don't know what it is, but it just feels like a very expensive sci-fi movie.
Right.
That's literally what it feels like.
And sci-fi is in the channel, not science fiction.
Not science fiction. It feels like a very, because in a sense you can make the argument that in a sense also Netflix is kind of like made for TV, I guess, so to speak. I don't know. But these just feel like very expensive made for TV movies. That's what it feels like. It's just like someone like this. This is a sci-fi movie with just a bigger budget. It's pretty much how I'm describing it, or like a Spike movie with a bigger budget.
Spike.
So it's like, I don't get it. And then we just saw a new trailer for another movie, which again feels very much in line with what we just saw these past couple months. So I don't know.
Yeah, what was that? What was that one called?
The Power Project.
Power Project with Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which it's like Netflix just throws money to get an A-list actor to do just a shitty script,
mediocre action film.
Yeah, which is like it's what it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really don't know like what the issue is here, but yeah, to me it's an issue, and it's one that is getting worse and worse because just these movies that come out, they're just like I'm just losing any interest. Like when I see a trailer for a Netflix movie, I'm just like, well.
Your brain can't help but to almost revert to like this is another 600 grams.
It's another like it's another C-list movie with an A-list actor
with a big ass budget.
That's
really what it comes down to. Yeah. And that's why I was like, that's why with the second the movie started, I just automatically fell into that. I'm just like, oh god.
See, because I was on board with it, man. I was on board for those first 20 minutes. I was really into it, and then it just really just like lost.
I don't know what it was. Something for me just automatically just almost switched. And not saying that I didn't enjoy the movie because I'm trying to prove myself right. That's not what I'm saying at all. It just wasn't a good movie.
Well, I kind of want to delve into that a little bit too, because the movie is surprisingly getting great reviews and people seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I want to stress with you guys is that there's no agenda. There's nothing we're trying to push here. We will always give our honest opinions. And we're never going to fall into just following the majority or following what most people are saying. Mm-hmm. But at the same point is we're not trying to be like mean-spirited or anything like that. Like this is just how we felt watching the movie. Because there's obviously a lot of things that this movie deals with that are, I guess, known as like being progressive, and it's great. It's great that certain things are getting shined a spotlight on. Which I guess like we can probably call this the first like big budget superhero that deals with majority of the characters are gay. You have like Nick and Joe who met in the Crusades, and then I think Charlize and I forget the character. They kind of teased it, but I think you kind of assume that too. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool that they're doing stuff like it, and like I like that we're kind of getting like this progression that you can have these movies and have these types of people starring in it and these characters that are driving the plot and everything, and it's really cool to see that. But just for us, like the movie just did not. It was just flat. It was boring. It just really didn't do much for us in terms of that, which is a shame that when you have that. And then also goes back to me saying that the story with Charlize and God, I really wish I knew the character's name.
Me too.
Yeah, but it's basically that they were warriors fighting for years and years, and it's to me it's probably the best scene in the movie is how when she gets captured and she gets put in like that iron casket and thrown to the bottom of the sea. That's some frightening shit.
That is terrifying.
That's some frightening shit,
and it's awful for 500 years to be drowning over
and over again.
We don't talk about hell. That's probably
hell.
Close to it. Yeah,
exactly. So in this post-credit scene, now that we're coming back to it, she comes back.
How does she come back?
We don't know, and obviously it looks like she's going to be sort of like a villain for the next movie. So that's to me where I was like, this should have been the story the whole fucking time, because this is where you have like imagine Charlize and her her former friend who's now an enemy. Just these immortal warriors are now locked in just this battle where they can't die, and it's just that would have been just a good
or at
story.
least her pulling the strings.
Right, or at least her pulling the strings. But eventually you have like that confrontation. You know what I mean? Like that's what I wanted to see. That's
Like what if
I
it
think this
kicked
movie
off
needed.
with like, you know, maybe she finds a way of, I don't know, who knows?
Right.
It's always different in hindsight. But what if she like kills Booker right off the bat, and then that's what pretty much brings everyone back, and then it's like, oh my gosh, she's back.
Right.
And you know, obviously in hindsight everything is different, but yeah, the movie just like you were saying, it's getting good reviews. It's getting a lot of positive word of mouth. Whatever the reason behind that may be is fine. You know, everyone's film is subjective. That's the beauty of it. We say that all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it. I will forever say that. Absolutely. Because that's just the truth. But yeah, like you said, we're honest, and just unfortunately, just a lot of the things in the movie just does not work for me.
Yeah. With all that, Martin, how would you score it?
You know, I've been thinking of how to, because I'm trying to like think of categories. You know, like how would I score this and this and this, and amalgamate it onto like one score. Mm-hmm. Like if we were to do like stunts and everything, that would be like an A+. But then if we were writing, that would be like not good. Acting, you know, story, I can't give. I just like, to me, it's a low score to me, and especially the fact that I was not many times in films, but we got to a certain point where I was just like, I was so done. Yeah. And I just wanted the movie to be over. And then even though the post-credit scene was just a couple minutes, I'm like, I don't want to see like any more. I just want to turn it off. Right. Like I want to turn it off. This movie's just not working for me whatsoever. But I would give it a,
just say it, man.
4.8. That would be my score. 4.8.
4.8.
Just below the 50%. Just below, like if I'm thinking of like Rotten Tomato scores, which I believe is pretty high.
It's like 81.
81, and the audience score is also fairly high.
Audience score is, I think the audience score is a little bit lower. It's like 73.
Yeah, I would go even lower than that. I would go like, I would go like right below the because I'm trying to think of like where other movies kind of fall for me as well too, and I would probably give it like the 48%, like 45 to 50. So I'll go like 4.8.
Yeah, I'm very close with you. Other than the action scenes and Charlize Theron, there's really not much here.
And something else that we forgot to talk about is the soundtrack is awful, in my opinion.
Wow! Holy shit!
Music selection, whoever was in charge of it, literally just went to Spotify, clicked like, you know, pop music of today, or like the world's like mainstream popular music, and just, it was bad. Like every single choice selection, I'm like, what is with this music?
You want to know what's funny about that too is after we watched the movie, you said how they had some big TikTok campaign. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they were targeting teenagers with these song choices, because like almost during, I don't think during that first action scene, which is probably why I liked it the most, but every other action scene that followed, they had some really just,
it reminded me of Suicide Squad.
Some just but even worse than that, because at least Suicide Squad had good songs. You know what I mean? Like this just had the most garbage songs, and you would have somebody singing over like these awesome fight scenes, and it would ruin it.
And it was just, and it would ruin the vibe. Didn't even feel right. Like when I say in regards to Suicide Squad, it's because like Suicide Squad, like they try to keep every single character their song. Right. So it's just like,
and it feels out of place.
Yeah, the same thing here. Like it just didn't feel like, even though as much as I love the Frank Ocean song, that like my mom was like, oh, Frank Ocean, maybe like Waves, like I can't remember what that song is called, but as much as I love that song, like it comes on for a few seconds, you're like, okay, and then it quickly stops because Charlize comes in and starts kicking ass.
It also makes no sense too, because like I'm pretty sure when she plays the song, doesn't it cut to like the chorus right away? Like it doesn't. Song is. I mean, I guess movies do that in general, but like that
if
also.
If you want to like in movie logic, it makes sense. Right. And realistically, no, you're right. But yeah, I was just like,
that was too like where that song worked in Waves. It just felt out of place here.
Well, that was was it in Waves? I can't remember. I rember it was for the trailer.
It was for the trailer. I thought it was in Waves. Waves had an awesome soundtrack.
Waves had an amazing soundtrack. Yeah, and Waves is it's a heavy film, but definitely go check it out.
I would like to do a review on Waves. I would love to talk about that.
I would love to talk about it too, because I'm mixed. I love the first half. I don't like the second half of the movie. But yeah, just the soundtrack to that movie. That's a huge that was another thing that really turned me off, because we love scores and soundtracks, and I was just like, every single time a song came on, I'm like, what is with the selection? Like, what is it with this? I don't get it.
I would agree. I'm glad you brought that up, because I probably blocked that part out of my mind, because that was definitely a huge turn off for me as well.
Yeah, and it was literally just like I'm not gonna talk about it anymore. We've said enough. But yeah, 4.8. That's my score.
But yeah, so other than the action scenes, other than Charlize Theron's performance, I was just completely just done with this movie. I found it boring. I found it generic. I didn't like the writing. A lot of the acting was not good. The line delivery wasn't great. And the soundtrack was absolute garbage. 4.5.
4.5?
Yeah.
Closing it?
Closing it out.
Sounds good.
Guys, thank you for joining us as always. If you like this review, please check out our other ones. What did you think of The Old Guard? Did you like it? Do you disagree with us? Please comment below and let us know. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
All the good stuff.
All that good stuff.
And we'll see you guys later.